Okay, welcome to Off Book, the series, which is like Off Book, but it's not a podcast. It's other things. Today, we're going to be doing the lowest kind of effort content possible. We're going to be ranking. We're going to be making a tier list of some Broadway musicals that we have. I mean, I haven't seen most of these, but I've like heard of them. I've listened to Cast album. I've seen some of these. I was in some of these. I was in one of these.
I was in, yeah, I was
And
in none of them. That's depressing.
I Okay, I guess High School Musical isn't exactly going to make it under a list. So you can see here we have some 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21, if I can count, musicals here. We also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiers. Uh, Starting at the bottom is the bad tier. It's called the Those Tomatoes tier. It's so bad I have to get up and throw rotten vegetables. I guess tomatoes are fruits. I throw things at the cast because they're so bad. At the top is sobs. That's a good thing. Sobbing is good. I sob at most good musicals. And then in between those, we've got Checks Watch. It's not terrible. I'm just kind of bored. You know, applause, like, okay, yeah, this is good. And you standing ovation. Okay, this is good. I'm gonna give you a standing ovation. It's not like I get standing ovations too often. Like I'll even shows that like, get standing ovations. So like, that's yeah. I should have written a script for this. Anyway,
That's
first
okay. No, we're
first
gonna go off
musical,
script.
we're gonna go off book.
Ah,
I knew I named the show that for a reason. Although I guess this is an offshoot of the show, so it's off book. It's off book, off whatever. Anyway, the first musical is 21 Jump Street, the musical. This is a radio. This is a short musical that Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote in between In the Heights and Hamilton for This American Life. It's loosely based on the real life story of Justin the Boy, and an undercover officer who infiltrated his high school to try to and get some like kids that were doing drugs and kind of like ruined his life. Anyway, it starred a slightly younger Anthony Ramos. Lynn was in it as this reporter dude. It's pretty good. What do you think, Hailey?
first off, in love with Anthony. Love of my life.
That's fair. Friend of
Um,
the show.
I'm gonna say applause.
Okay.
I think it was okay. It definitely, like, when it first came out, it wasn't my cup of tea, but
Hmm.
I know that it's still like well written and the cast was also good.
Yeah, I feel like depending on the day, it's kind of verging between applause and standing ovation for me. I don't think I've ever cried. I mean, I might have once, but like that's just like rite of passage for any show. Um, yeah, I feel like at least for now, we can go rearrange if we need to, but I feel like at least for now, it's like a solid middle of the road, pretty good. It's fine.
Yeah.
Next, we got Beetlejuice. We can only say it 2 more times because, I mean, I guess if Alex Brightman showed them, that's okay. So Beetlejuice is based on the movie of the same name. On Broadway starred Alex Brightman and then Sophia Annie Caruso slash Presley Ryan slash um, what's her name? The Lydia right now. Elizabeth Teeter. Um, it also just recently started its national tour. I think it's amazing, and Winter Garden stuff is going to upset me if I mention it, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, no, Beetlejuice definitely is one of my favorite musicals at the
Same.
moment and has been for a while. It's just so well done. Like, I grew up watching the movie, and so like for it to be turned into a musical at first, it was like, there's no way this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
And then it was.
Well, yeah, the source material in no way lends itself to a musical. There's no way I could have guessed that. And I think also like the musical isn't that much like the movie. Like obviously it's like based on, but like they changed so much to make it work while still paying respects to the original material. Like, just it's great. It's
So
great.
I think it should go in sobs.
I Yes, I
I think
agree.
it's that good.
I'm laughing at the fact that I named these columns without realizing we were gonna have to mention them every single time. So I
The
inevitably
red
going to
one.
say, I think this goes in Throws Tomatoes. So yeah, I chose some great names. Anyway, speaking of Cats, we all know what Cats is. To be fair, this is the musical. This is not the movie. We
Yeah.
all know where the movie goes. It's a special tier beneath Throws Tomatoes called Destroy. But the musical itself, which I think is marginally better than the movie. I think the movie's terrible. I think the music is good. I think the story is weird.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. Like it has really good songs,
Hmm.
but the costumes kind of terrify me.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
like
probably
I don't know, because it's a classic, but it's
true.
also just like I don't know, it's just so odd.
I probably would have put this in Check's Watch because like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
leave. But like I realistically I'd apply for it. I'm sure that like I would cry at it because I caught all the musicals. But I feel like if we're trying to rank these objectively speaking, I feel like it's not as good as 21 Jump Street. But I also feel like it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's eh.
It's like it's
Uh
there.
yes. Next up we've got Come From Away, which is the story after the 9/11, um, the planes that were in the air still. They couldn't go back into U.S. airspace, so they were diverted to the nearest airport, which happened to be in Newfoundland. And so people like these planes from all over the world were all suddenly brought to this tiny town, and it's a story of like it's like a week where everyone's like living in this town with people they've never met, and it's just like the story of like trying to like be human and get to know each other and figure out what makes everybody tick. And I think it's really good.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely it's for what the subject is,
Right.
it's good.
Yeah. A 9/11 musical had the potential to be so bad, but like it's it's very good. I mean, I think you can predict where I'm going to suggest it goes.
I'm gonna say standing ovation.
I would have put it one above that, but
No, I agree.
okay. Yeah, S tier, which I realized I actually made the S tier because normally it goes S A and then is it B? I don't know
S
what it
A
normally goes in.
Yeah, it's SABCDF.
Can someone explain to me why S is above A? I don't get that. I don't. I've never understood that.
I just work here.
That's fair. Me too. I mean, I made the tier list, but I renamed them because I was confused. Anyway, well, the musical that everyone has an opinion on, Dear Evan Hansen. I'm not going to try to explain the plot because it doesn't make any sense if I explain the plot. Go Google it and you'll be confused.
Yes.
Baskin Paul, music is great. Ben Platt, love Ben Platt, friend of the show. Um,
He just got engaged.
oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Congrats, Ben Platt. Um, subject matter and story
Horrible.
and general morality, iffy at best.
Okay. I love the music. Like it's on my playlist. Okay.
Yeah, same.
But I literally cannot get my head like just past the horrible morality of it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like a concert presentation of Dear Evan Hansen would go very close to the top. I feel like a non-music play version of Dear Evan Hansen would be at the bottom. So, do we split the difference and put it in the middle, or do we think that one of those has more weight than the other?
I think that it should go in Chex Watch with cats. Just because like
Ouch.
yeah, I know. Like at first, like when I first discovered Dear Evan Hansen, I definitely would have put it higher, but like just it's hard because it's
Yeah,
so good. But
and
why
also
was it
so
made?
terrible. Yeah, yeah. Okay. And honestly, okay. I actually I watched an interview with some of the creatives, and they were telling the story about how like I guess I think it was basketball when they were in high school, like had a similar situation happen, not with like Evan, like where this kid died at their school and everyone like was upset they didn't get to know him more. And so their thought was we should write a musical about this because everyone wants to feel connected. It's like, okay, how was that your lesson from this tragedy? What? So okay, I'll put it in chess watch for now. I we might have to rearrange it later. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Yeah, no, when we get Ashley in on this,
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to make a part two with some more musicals. We're gonna have to, yeah.
revisit.
Right. Yeah. Next up is Frozen, the musical, based on the 2013 Disney movie. If there's a certain song that's stuck in your head, don't worry, we're not going to harp on it. We're going to let it go. The um, yeah, so it's a story of princesses and a prince and some trolls and a snowman. I don't really have to explain. I'm sure literally everybody knows what Frozen is. You'll know what Frozen is. There's a musical version of it with the songs from the movie and some more songs that are like, they're like B-sides. I think they're okay. They're fine. Monster is very good. That's Elsa's new like power ballad. That's good. The rest of them are all fine.
I think that even if it wasn't a movie before, I think this could have survived on Broadway on its own.
Me too. Like
So
it's just like it's a good show.
it's so good. And like I love how some of the songs are different
Yeah,
from the movie. So it gives you
Mhm.
like that big famous song. um
Yeah, that one.
is kind
That
of
one.
deviates away from like how the movie does it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like more emotion.
True. Yeah, they definitely tried to kind of expand upon the original movie and say, okay, we're working with more than just the classic Disney fairy tale. How can we make this a little bit stronger and fuller? And I'm sad that it closed because I wanted to see it. Although I think it's going into her, so you can see it there.
Yeah, I think it's in the tour that's um Broadway GR.
Oh, I'll be. Am I going to see it? And I forgot. Hold on, let me check. This is what you
I
get
think
now for series. No editing.
I think I think it's part of like because I know six is going to be there.
Yes.
So I think it's like six Frozen.
Oh, yeah, it's coming in July.
That's ironic.
And normally, yeah, yeah. Wait, so when should we schedule this ice musical? Summer.
July,
Yes.
the
Although I have
hottest
heard that
month in
I,
Michigan.
I have heard that if you're a snowman, summer is the best time to be around.
I
I
quit.
very watch snowman.
Um,
In a normal episode, we would have edited all that out, but this is off book the series, so I can do whatever I want to. I'm gonna leave all that in.
as you should,
This entire episode is gonna be like 80 minutes long.
as it should be.
Anyway, Frozen musical. What are you thinking?
I think standing ovation.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
think
it's as good
just
as
from the
Beetlejuice.
sheer talent.
That's true. That music is hard to sing, and like even like I don't know if you've seen the Broadway version of Love is an Open Door, but they reworked it a little bit. So like it's like even cooler. Like that song was pretty good. Let's be honest. That was a
Yeah,
pretty good song. But like it's like even better on Broadway. Like oh wow, okay. Also Ryan
everything's
McCartney
better
played
on
Hans.
Broadway.
Also Ryan McCartney played Hans, and he was the original JD from Heather's, which I love. So
Big hearts.
Ryan McCartney, friend of the show, please go on the show. It's cool. Hamilton.
Revolutionary. I
Definitely,
like
definitely in those tomatoes. No.
it's I it let me be real here. When Hamilton first came out, I thought it was the most overhyped thing in the entire world.
I think everybody did until they actually like got into it.
And then I
Um,
watched it and I was like, this is literal genius. If
yeah,
you haven't seen Hamilton, go do it. But
and it's on Disney
also,
Plus.
yeah. And so basically it's just a non-stop musical.
Fun fact: that was almost the name of the show. It was almost called the Non-Stop Show.
And so like it keeps going from song to song and there's dialogue but it's either rapped or spoken very fast so it
Yeah,
doesn't seem like actual dialogue or it's sung.
it's so tightly written, and like
It's so good.
I think I said this every time Hamilton comes up. I feel like every number in the show would be the best number in another show. Like even like the weaker numbers in the show would be like the highlight of any other show. Like
It's
yeah,
in sobs. I'll never
I
get tired of it.
can I go above sobs? Is that okay? Alrighty. Speaking of Ryan McCartney, and this is in a slightly wrong order. I should have done that better. But Heather's the musical. This is the off Broadway. This is the West End cast, but the off Broadway thing is basically the same with a few song changes.
I like it.
Yeah,
um I've seen the movie. The movie's if you haven't seen the movie it's really deranged, like it's
yeah.
something else. And the musical is kind of similar, but it definitely tones it down a little bit, which is a little disappointing.
But also
I get it.
Broadway. Yeah, professional theater.
Yeah, like some of the stuff that happened in the movie wouldn't fly on Broadway stage.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think it was good. Do I like I love the soundtrack.
You
It's
mean the
just
cast album?
I just wish that it could be to its full potential.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because it would directly it had to run off Broadway, closed, and then several years later, premiered on the West End. And I would have been
Yeah.
interested to see what would have happened if it had been able to move to Broadway, if they would have been able to make the changes that because they made some changes to move to the West End, but I'd be interested to see what changes they might have made to go to Broadway, and if that might have tightened it up a little bit.
I don't know. Where do you think it would go? I feel like it almost would just go in the middle because it's just like, like it's there.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same as 21 Jump Street, where I feel like there are some days when I'm really into it, there are some days when it's fine. It has its moments. All right, second Lin-Manuel Miranda musical up on here. Third, I can count. The third Lin-Manuel Miranda musical up on this thing, In the Heights. This was the story of a block in New York City, in the Washington Heights area. It's around the 4th of July. It's just kind of like living there. So there's a power outage. Um, I'm not going to spoil anything else because it's going to make me cry. But then it got turned into a movie, but we're not talking about the movie. Maybe that's another video. We'll review musicals. This is the original stage production.
I'm gonna be honest. I never really got into Into the Heights.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. It just like it kind of just went over my radar and just didn't happen.
I feel like it's not as good as Hamilton. I feel like you can tell that Hamilton came several years after the Nights when he was able to refine his craft more.
Oh,
But I
100%.
I feel like it also like you can tell the building blocks of Hamilton are there. You can tell that he had the spark. He just had to keep refining it.
But
Um,
what like I have heard from like the Broadway cast and everything, it's like up there,
yeah, I
like
mean it's
in terms of music
mhm.
and
and
acting.
and storytelling. Like it's a very like well
Yeah.
written story, and like it's one of those musicals. It's a lot like Into the Woods. Spoilers. Where it's like all these characters have their own stories, and it's not one character has a story. They all have their own stories intertwining, and it's only when all these stories are playing out simultaneously you would get the full plot of the show. It can only exist with the full ensemble.
I think it could go in with Frozen.
Yeah, that's what I was
Standing
putting it.
ovation.
Which is interesting because I feel like I feel of his three musicals, I feel like 21 Jump Street, In the Heights, and Hamilton all kind of got better. I know that 21 Jump Street was in between In the Heights and Hamilton, but that sounds like it was also less of a big project than the other two was. So that was more of an in between thing for him. So that's interesting. Anyway, speaking of being in locations, Into the Woods. See what I did there? That's not clever at all. I was in Into the Woods once. I played a cow and a wolf.
Okay, so sidetrack story about this. So I went to go see Mark in this, and he told me he was a cow, and I was like, okay. And it was the funniest thing I had ever seen.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I crack up. I was cracking up. I seriously could not contain my laughter.
Everybody was. Which like I guess good for me because like I had like so many people tell me that I was their favorite part of the show. I'm like, thank you. Why? I auditioned to play the wolf because I figured that was the role I had the best chance of getting it. We auditioned with cuts in the show, so I sang a part of the wolf song from Into the Woods. Went well, did a little bit of monologue work, did a little bit back and forth with the production team. Then the director, like sitting in the side of the room, goes, "Hey, can you move like a cow?" What? Move like a cow? Uh, okay. So I do. Thank you. Okay, that was weird. And then lo and behold, I see the cast list and I'm a cow. I'm like, okay, how are they going to do that? And then during one rehearsal, the director comes wheeling an office chair across the stage. He goes, hey, lay down on this. What? Lay down on this sideways and like wheel yourself around with your hands, like pulling yourself around like this. Like, what? So like I had these like suction cups on my hand in my hands. So I like had to drag myself across the stage. All the while, like just I'm not gonna do it on the internet. That's a bad idea. But I was like moving throughout the entire show. I didn't have a single line. I was like was reacting like trying, and then like I had a quick change into the wolf. It was wild. It was fun, but it was like the most demeaning I've ever felt on stage. Like, okay, I'm a cow. Wow.
It was the funniest thing ever. I seriously, that was my first time being back at like the high school in a hot
Oh
second.
no.
My
Oh
first
no.
experience was seeing Mark on stage as a cow. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But anyways, Into the Woods.
It's
I
such a good
like
show.
it. I
It's such
don't
a good
think
show.
it's such a good show. And like the music is so good.
I feel like, I mean, written by Stephen Sondheim, who is one of the greatest Broadway writers to ever exist. Um, we don't have enough of his stuff on here, but like, wow. And I think that the way Sideways did a video on the beat motif and how he uses that throughout the entire show, it's like such a well written show. And like the storytelling, I was in the show and I still cried like a bunch of times in the show. So if that helps you guess where I'm gonna suggest it goes, but it's just such a good show.
I think sobs.
Yeah. Okay. So they revived it on Broadway, and they're taking some of the Broadway cast on tour. Um, I tried looking at the new cast album, and I couldn't because I got flashbacks to when I was in it. But like, it's the music is so good, and in 5 years when I finally get over it, I'll be able to listen to it because it's that good.
Yeah, no, it literally like I wish I could have been in it.
It was a fun show. Yeah, and that was our first show because we got shut down at the end of my sophomore year for COVID, and then we had like some monologues for the play our junior year, but that was monologues, and there was nobody in the theater. It was all like it was just virtual stuff. So it's like they live streamed it. So Into the Woods was our first experience being back in front of an audience since fall of uh 2020. It was before like, any of COVID. So first of all, I'm glad my first show back was as a cow. Second of all, like that was a really fun show to get to do an audience with because it's so like it's a comedic musical, but it's also like very emotional and like just it's such a well-rounded musical because like it hits all the beats. That was a really fun show to do in front of an audience after a year of not having.
And I got High School Musical.
Yeah, High School Musical. Like, that was my first show. I'm like, oh, this is what theater is.
That was my last show.
Okay, that's
Okay,
okay.
let's be
That's fair.
really
That's
fair.
fair. Yeah, yeah.
Wait, what's the next one? I can't even read that.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
I haven't seen that. I have like
Really?
I have no opinion on that. So that's all you.
Oh, ooh, okay. Um, so for those of you that don't know, Jesus Christ Superstar, written by Angela Weber, from Phantom and Cats and a bunch of other stuff, um, is the story of Jesus Christ. Um, he, the Son of God, comes down to Earth. He's like, "Hey, follow me," and then he,
Here are my social media handles.
well,
But like
we're
so
gonna
old.
get there. We're gonna get there. So it's based on the Bible story of Jesus comes to Earth, teaches about how to follow God, and then dies as a sacrifice for all of humankind. That way they can go to heaven, even though there's. Well, Angela Weber adapts that story into a modernized version of it, where he is put in a modern landscape. Now, modern it changes depending on what production you're in. I've seen modernized versions of the actual locations he was in. I've seen a weird dystopian police state. I've seen like a modern social media protest fueled society. So the direction will make this story very wild. I think the music is really good. I think the story, I mean, it's for better or worse. I think it's mostly the original story. It frames it around Judas, who ends up betraying Jesus to be killed. I'm mostly explaining for you since you've never seen it, but so
I
it
was
kind
gonna
of
say
it's
I'm like I have
yeah
never like I've heard of it. I just like never
yeah. So it basically it because Jesus had like his 12 disciples, and so
Mhm.
it frames it from the point of view of Judas, who's one of his disciples, and I was like, hey, okay, I was on board with your like whole preaching stuff, but you're starting to get dangerous because we're still oppressed. So you might want to cool it before we all die. Which is so this is ongoing struggle where Jesus is preaching, the God's word, and Judas is like, well, maybe stop before we get in trouble. And then eventually Judas, under pressure from the authorities, ends up turning him in, and turning Jesus in, and then Jesus uh, gets murdered, and Judas commits suicide, and then the show ends. So yeah, it's a whole thing.
That sounds like a whole thing. From what
It
I've
is
heard.
it is a whole thing, and that's not a full summary. Go look it up. But yeah, yeah, it's the music is fantastic because Angela Weber is amazing. I feel like the story for what it needs to be is pretty solid. I'm not commenting on this accuracy, the validity of the story as a whole, like in terms of like as a theater story. Um, I feel like it's a good story. I feel like I'm gonna put it in the middle, at least for now,
Yeah,
because it feels
I think that's valid.
feels
From what
average.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Look at we did our list.
Yeah, tier list. Well,
I'm
folks,
so
that's
excited to do more of those
yeah, tier lists are fun.
and do it with Ashley.
Yeah.
Because then it's gonna get really
Yeah, yeah. Well, for now, that's our tier list of what is it, 21 different musicals in 5 different categories. If you disagree, then too bad.
Why do you disagree?
Yeah, so that's a better question. Why do you disagree? We're actually right. So take that. Well, I don't have a conclusion. So, Hailey, any
Bye.
final thoughts you want to share?
Um, I stand by all my decisions. The end.
The end. The end. This is the end. Goodbye.
Yeah.